Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good luck sleeping. You're watching PNT. I'm your host, pondering the survivability of vegetarian werewolves. Up front this week, according to an article by UPI, one janitor in South Korea may soon discover that one man's trash is literally one man's treasure. The anonymous janitor was pursuing his usual duties at a South Korean airport when he discovered 7 gold bars in a garbage bin. The trashy treasure had most likely been dumped there by smugglers who had been transporting the bars of bullion from Hong Kong to Japan and likely got spooked before going through customs, officials investigating the incident stated. Due to South Korea's finders keepers law, the fortunate janitor may get to keep the gold bars, which have been valued at $325 million. According to police, the owners of the gold would need to come forward to claim the hoard, which doesn't seem likely to happen. Even if the owners do come forward to claim their cash, the janitor will still receive between 5 to 20% of the value, but with a catch. In typical government fashion, officials state that if the gold is proven to be connected with a criminal enterprise, our intrepid janitor will be jilted and receive nothing. For PNT's part, we're rooting for the underdog in the story and sincerely hope that our courageous caretaker will have better luck with his golden shower than our president has had with his. From refuse riches to mid-air mysteries, our next story takes us north to Canada, where police are grappling with an anonymous aerial automobile. According to multiple online sources, Toronto police recently discovered a blue Honda Civic suspended from a wire underneath the Millwood Overpass Bridge. The interior of the vehicle had apparently been set on fire, with the windows, windshield, and engine completely missing. Police were puzzled as to why and how the Honda was hung in place, but suspect that the incident was a prank, according to a statement issued by Toronto Police Constable Carolyn DeClout. The constable emphasized the serious fines that could await the perpetrators of the prank and stated that they could face criminal charges for tying up city emergency crews. While PNT agrees with police that the most likely cause of the incident is a prank, given the unusual position the car was left in and the difficulty of placing a 2,000-pound chunk of metal on a wire under a bridge, we wonder if this just isn't a case of extraterrestrial buyer's remorse. Should probably have taken it for a test drive first. For our final part of our weekly roundup of the weird, PNT is pleased to bring you another episode of Fact or Fake. Last week we showed you this footage of purported alien beings. But was this a fake we created to trick you, or a genuine unknown footage of the paranormal? Our results were more mixed this time around, with roughly 75% of our viewers weighing in on the fact side and 25% weighing in as undecided. In this case, PNT did not create the footage we showed for you. This was genuine footage uploaded to YouTube in 2011. The story of the footage found on YouTube channel Ivan0135 is nearly as mysterious as the films themselves. As this particular rabbit hole is deeper than most, we'll sum up the salient points and give you our analysis of the evidence, but encourage you to check out the channel for yourself. On April 13th, 2011, an anonymous individual created a YouTube channel called Ivan0135 and uploaded the first of 4 videos. Titled with a collection of keywords, the video shows a UFO or UFOs hovering over a house in flight alongside an aircraft and then crashed or shot down on the ground. We are treated to brief clips of aliens, both dead and living, crash survivors, and victims. Of the 3 footage uploads, This seems to be the oldest and most deteriorated on the surface. More on that later. The notes accompanying the video are highly suggestive of some hidden code or meaning, with terms like tin bird or flying twin standing in for the UFOs and blue boys for the aliens. Curiously, the final 3 short clip pieces in the film are labeled as Blue Boys Meeting, a curious term to describe what is obviously an autopsy, or a dissection. Little more than 2 weeks later, Ivan uploaded again on May 1st, 2011. The second piece of footage gives us some vague but tantalizing details of the origins of the films, claiming that they are for dissemination through the internet and media. The films apparently are part of a larger collection of 7 tapes with material recorded between 1942 and 1969. The footage then introduces us to Skinny Bob, the large, detailed, and very animated creature seen here. The footage shows the alleged alien gesturing, blinking, and moving its head in a natural motion, as though giving instructions to a person off camera. We then see Skinny Bob being given what can only be interpreted as a physical exam, with the creature's full height and weight apparently being recorded. We then see a strange and tantalizing snippet labeled How to Drive. But what are we looking at? Is this a possible console or control panel? Perhaps a video touchscreen of some sort? Who or what is the owner of the ominous shadow? And a more pertinent question is, how to drive what precisely? Ivan is quiet for another week while the views and comments begin to build. Whether to address the rising tide of interest or perhaps to stoke it further, on May 8, 2011, Ivan posts a third video. This one containing a single image of a 3-fingered hand and some cryptic phrases. The points that stand out are these. Ivan claims to be in possession of film and documents. Ivan uses a complex combination of psychological ploys to attempt to manipulate the viewers of the channel into accepting the validity of the footage, despite the fact that they contradict their own claims as to the possible origins of the film. Ivan ends his informative explanation with the admonition, "You create your own misinformation." Is this a warning to accept the footage at face value, or a clever ploy to ensure audience interest? Perhaps a bit of both. Ivan goes quiet again for 9 days before making their final posting. An explosive video purporting to show footage of aliens participating in treaty negotiations with an unnamed but heavily implied nation. Alleging to be footage taken by a rogue element within the human delegation, the incident apparently led to a revision in the human-alien alliance. What that alliance was, and how it changed, remain unknown. The film, though short, is remarkable as it appears to show 2 aliens walking down a utilitarian corridor such as that found in military bases worldwide. What struck PNT was the way the aliens seemed to stare directly into the camera lens, as if they knew the hidden camera was there the entire time. Was this a case of alien telepathy, or just good acting? After this final upload, Ivan0135 vanishes, never to be heard from again. In doing so, they leave us with more questions than answers, which was, no doubt, the point. Ivan's story is a classic tale, drawn from elements we very much want to believe in, but upon close examination, falls apart. We are asked to suspend our disbelief and accept the footage at face value, and the implications that it may have, or had, for our species. But even if we are willing to do this, we have the footage itself. Compelling and sensational, it seems to be either genuine or an extremely thorough and well-crafted hoax. As with all of the footage PNT presents, we analyzed it under various filters and even went frame by frame, looking for telltale signs of a hoax. What we found is interesting. Let's start with the elephant in the room, however. While Skinny Bob is no doubt compelling, is he real? We see him moving, blinking, gesturing, perhaps even speaking. But this is nothing that could not be replicated using good puppetry skills, augmented with CGI. Then how about the exam scene where we see Bob's whole body? PNT must admit that of all the clips, we found this one the most curious. Bob appears to be standing still, but if you look closely, you will see the small, involuntary muscle movements that keep us all upright and balanced. This would be very hard to fake convincingly with a puppet or a computer. It would not, however, be terribly difficult to dress a small child in prosthetics and makeup and use them to pinch hit for our puppet Bob. Spielberg used just this technique to bring us the ETs in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Alright, so we can't prove Bob is real or fake either way. The same goes for the remainder of the footage. All of it could have been staged and filmed using modern equipment and then processed to look old, a technique we demonstrated ourselves in the first Fact or Fake. Having done it ourselves for your education, we looked frame by frame for evidence of such manipulation. Instead of looking at the subject matter, the UFOs and the aliens, we looked instead to the invisible elements of the film, the streaks, hairs, and water spots. Reasoning that if the footage were made to look old, a green screen overlay of film blemishes was the simplest way to do it. But many overlays are of short duration and will loop or repeat throughout the course of the clip. PNT looked for repetitions of water spots on the footage, attempting to determine if such an overlay had been used. We found evidence to indicate that this footage has been subject to extensive manipulation. Two distinct types of spot were found to repeat at least 3 times each over the course of the film, and not only to repeat, but to change size and orientation, indicating that our video editor was aware of the problem of repeating overlay patterns and had taken steps to hide this. Another detail strongly telling of manipulation are the presence of scan lines throughout the footage, an effect caused when older CRT tube monitors are filmed using video equipment. This tells us that these films were recorded from a video screen rather than from an actual film negative transfer. While one could argue that this was simply a convenient way to archive degrading prints, or perhaps an employee secretly smuggling footage out under duress, PNT feels that this line of reasoning stretches the bounds of Occam's razor well past their breaking point. While we freely admit that the truth of the uploads by Ivan0135 will remain controversial, we feel that given the vague background of the uploads, the lack of real details or supporting documents, the clear evidence of video manipulation, and the classic psychological disinformation techniques at play, firmly put this in the realm of a hoax. Even so, we have to admit that part of us admires the skill of the unknown hoaxers. Skinny Bob certainly provided us with hours of tantalizing mystery and a small, lingering doubt that what we might be looking at is real, after all. But whether this footage is truly fake, we'll leave up to our faithful viewers to decide. Sound off in the comments section below with your thoughts, and stay tuned for the next fact or fake. That's it for this time, faithful viewers. Be sure to click like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be notified when we upload your next portion of the paranormal. I'm your host, reminding you to keep an open mind, because a closed one shuts out the truth.